Talking to a PI, kind of time we on. Jump roll like the kind of take eons. Got a little.
Yeah.
I forgot how much that's left. So you got to run that back one more time. Just hit me one more game before we even start this. That was too far.
All right, let's do the second intro.
Yeah. Money make the world go round. I'm trying to get it all right now. Everybody worry about the crown being. Look, homie, I'm the man right now. Talking to a PI, kind of time we on. Jump roll like the kind of take eons.
Yeah.
Yo, get fired up now.
There it is already. Yeah, man. Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of Spill the TEAQUILA here on the Outlaw Nation show. Outlaw Nation channel, rather. Excited to be having some fun conversations back together with my brother from another mother, Winston A. Marshall. How are you, Winston?
Hey, man, the world is doing everything in its power to take me from it. I swear for Black Jesus, like every single which way, getting other people sick, attacking my coin, like taking my sleep, my sanity, throwing elections in my face and racism on the internets and you know, just any way the world can take me down a peg, it's attempting. So that's why I just you know, just as much as I can, just like you see. Have you seen that meme of where your mama wakes you up when you have school in the morning to do your dance? It's a little black boy like that's literally me, bro.
Oh, so true, man. So true. It's a crazy world out there right now. You know, I talk about it on my other shows, and we are going to talk some about it on this show. But this show is about having a blast, having fun, taking your mind off this stuff, and trying to find some humor in the madness that's going on in our world today, Winston. So I totally understand it and hear it. It feels like 1 second we're going to be saved, and the next second we're going to blow it all up, man. It seems like we're living in a real facsimile of the boys' universe, for God's sakes, in our real lives, which is crazy.
What's funny to me is the fact that the boys, people have to remember, people keep thinking, oh, they're too on the nose, they're doing stuff straight up. It's like that show, based upon how often it's coming out, they finished writing those episodes over a year and some change ago. And there may have been minor tweaks while they're on set. Yeah. But that all of that has been already written. Yeah. And so that's not, there's some of that is just their own imagination becoming prophetic, like The Simpsons, to be able to be like, oh yeah. And then this would probably happen. Like, that's just crazy.
Yeah. Like this recent episode, you know, we're not going to talk about it too deep, but like having to change the title of the episode, having to put up a warning in the episode because the episode basically focuses on a presidential assassination, which we just had a few days ago. So it's well, not a presidential, I suppose, but an assassination, which of a presidential candidate.
Like a presidential candidate, which technically that's what you're talking about with Singer and Newman, is that they are, you know, they're elects. They weren't even in office yet, you know? And so either way, before we get started, man, you know, Spill the Tequila. I know you said it's too early for you, but it's Friday. I'm gonna go ahead and do the damn thing.
Respect. You're gonna have to remind me next time, I think.
Ooh, I figured with the name Spill the Tequila, you would just be ready to do that. I thought we just understood that was
because I'm Latino. I just gotta have it lying around. Is that what's going on here?
No. It's literally the name of the show. I'm not gonna let you do that. Like, there are times to call out racism. That wasn't it.
Totally fair. We got so much to get into on the show, y'all. We're going to talk a little Marvel stuff. We're going to talk some cyber outages going on in the world, driving everybody crazy. We're going to jump into the highlights and the lowlights of the RNC and the madness going around Biden. I swear to God, we have no idea what's happening on both sides of the political fence right now. It is crazy out there in the world. We're going to get our updates on Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, the rivalry, not only between those two, but between me and Winston. As the WNBA All-Star is ramping up this weekend to happen, the ladies of the WNBA taking on the ladies of the U.S. Olympic national team before they head on off to France to play in the Olympics. And then we're going to get into possibly some Bronny talk as well. Already rumors that he's going to be rookie of the year. People are ramping up those conversations, which make absolute no sense to me. He barely scored 12 points the other night, but whatever. And so it's just going to be a fun time here. It's Friday. For those of you on the East Coast, it's like 5 o'clock. So I'm sure you're done with your day. Put up your feet, pour a tequila, a shot of tequila, hang out with us. And send in your Streamlabs and Super Chats if you want us to answer these questions during the show. The Streamlabs address right above Winston's head right there. It's also pinned in the chats in the description of the video, or send in your Super Chats, but send in love for the show, y'all. Y'all want us to keep doing it. Send in your love as we go along. Well, let's start with Marvel, dude. We got to start with Marvel. I got to ask you questions. I know you're on Capes and Cowls over there on the Christian Harloff channel with Coy Jandro and Christian. We talked about it on the Geek Buddies, which will be out tomorrow, our episode. But I mean, this is massive news, brother. The Russos coming back to direct Avengers 5 and 6. They say talks, but from my source on the hot mic, hint, hint, it's pretty much a done deal. So this is massive news overall here. I kind of said that this should happen a week or two ago on Christian's show, but I also felt like it's kind of a pipe dream. I had no idea it was actually going to happen. What's your reaction? What's your thoughts on this, Winston?
I think that's a smart move. I think you're talking about your most successful, most profitable directors by far and away. Like you have others that have done great work. Obviously, Ryan Coogler hasn't missed. Some would say that Wakanda Forever wasn't as strong as the opening, but you have extenuating circumstances there. But literally name me one Russo brothers MCU film that was bad. You can't, because arguably the three best films in the MCU were all directed by them. And you can make the argument that Civil War is, if not in that top 5, at least in the top 10. So why wouldn't you do that when the main mission statement for Disney, period, not just Marvel, has been undo the damage that Pro Model did and get back to form? And so in doing so, you saw a lot of stuff get reined in. You've had talks about all the reshoots that happened with the new Captain America, and how with that it's just a trailer, and trailers can be deceptive, but how that looked like most people's response is, "Ooh, I'm getting Winter Soldier vibes. It feels like we're getting back to form here." The anticipation with Deadpool and Wolverine, that was already on its own train on the tracks, and that's really Ryan Reynolds doing his thing with Levy and Jackman. But same thing, guaranteed formula that they know kind of works, and focusing on that. And I think that is what Disney is trying to do, period, but especially in the Marvel camp, because that is their movie cash cow above all others, is go back to what made it work. And so if you can have them come in, especially when they've said over and over, we would consider coming back for Secret Wars. We would come back for Secret Wars. And if you don't have Kang anymore, honestly, it'll probably be Secret Wars Part 1 and Part 2, which the same way Infinity War and Endgame are one giant movie. If we're just being honest, it is a 6-hour-long movie that they obviously split up because nobody's going to go sit down for 6 hours to watch a movie. That's not going to happen. Plus, you have the chance of making way more money if you go, here's one movie, here's the sequel to it a year later, and they're directly connected. You have that's way more profit to come out of that. So I think it's smart. I get some people don't love that we're not taking more risks, but if your goal is to get back to form, you got to go with the formula that you know works. And once you are set in your ways, like if this was a football game, go to your bread and butter, let Brady cook, let Mahomes cook, I'm not going to say let Rodgers cook anymore because fuck that guy. But when he wasn't an asshole, if you let your star do what they do, and then you can run a trick play. You don't run all these trick plays and none of them work, and you don't have your fundamentals there. You don't get to run the play action until your pass and your run game looks solid. So now they have to pay attention to it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're doing here. We're resetting.
Yeah, Winston's talking about the Jim Zorn era of Washington football. Absolutely. That kind of trick play nonsense bullshit that'll get you smoked every time. But, it's a fascinating situation they're walking back into because, and of course, it's not official yet, but it pretty much seems like it's going to happen. It's a fascinating situation because these are not there's maybe a handful of characters that they actually worked with in their movies that are still left in the MCU. Everyone else is very new, and there are new characters that are apparently going to be introduced in all these other projects that are about to come out as well. So it's an interesting world they're walking into where they haven't really been able to select the team. they've got these players and they've got to make sure these players play together. And it's multiple generations now of players that you're going to be bringing in and putting together to try to tell this story. And, Jeff reported on the hot mic that either Marcus or McFeely is going to come back for Avengers 6. So who's going to handle Avengers 5? Do they just take Waldron's script and just rewrite it? Do Marcus and McFeely do a pass to kind of make it fit to 6? Like, what do you anticipate here in terms of writing?
I think that we're not there yet anyway, as far as shooting. So I think that you probably just, if he's walked away, then when the Russos come in along with Feige, as Feige's the general, so these are his two most trusted like lieutenants or whatever.
Yeah.
You are in the military. Is lieutenant directly under general, or what's?
Yeah, it's not directly, but it's certainly a few ranks down. But it's in the same.
Is it like lieutenant general? Is lieutenant general? Is it general, lieutenant general?
Yes.
So if these are their two lieutenant generals right here, they'll show up and be like, okay, based on your orders, this is how we want to go about it, and then he'll either thumbs up or thumbs down one way or the other.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? like, I think that's it. I think you need to let them get in there, get the contract signed, get understood what it is they're allowed to do and not do because of what you're trying to do, and then you make that decision. So whether or not they decide to fully start over, take some of the stuff that was already there, like this is a good foundation, but this is what we need to switch, including we're still coming to terms with it sounds like not recasting Kang. So we need to just kind of move stuff around accordingly. So
right. Well, what about this comments they made about Iron Man? Like, they said, we don't want Robert Downey Jr. to come back in our minds. This is before there were even talks for Secret Wars, because in our minds, it's done. Like, we closed the book on him. It's over. Them and Feige have been very clear on this, that they would need a really good reason to bring Robert Downey Jr. back. Do you think that's what's fueling these rumors that Downey Jr. could be Doom or could play a villain from an alternate multiverse, and that's the way you technically bring back RDJ, but he's not as the main universe Iron Man? What do you think?
I just think that, like, in a world where Everything Everywhere All at Once won an Oscar, we can understand what an actual well-done variant looks like, what an alternate reality, I made some choices that led to a different path, looks like. I don't think that there is a problem with Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Tony Stark, and it's an evil Tony Stark, and in that world, that Tony Stark became Doom. But if you're going to do that, you need to make sure it is an ironclad script and that the writing of it makes sense. If you do that shit too willy-nilly, that is going to be a problem. It's one of those, I feel like I can't even use this turn of phrase anymore because of recent events. But the old turn of phrase of if you're gonna aim at the king, don't miss. Yeah. It's one of those situations that if you're going to take something that has been so perfectly well done and solidified, do not approach trying to undo that unless you have something that is in a vital story to tell and that you can do it correctly. If you can't do it correctly, don't even attempt it.
Yeah, I like this ironclad script. I see what you did there. Ironclad for the Iron Man.
that was completely by accident. That was completely by accident.
Before we move on, I gotta ask though, Matt Baloney, who writes the Puck newsletter, and Jeff kind of reaffirmed this as well. According to their sources, Marvel was getting desperate for a director to come on, and people were turning them down. Sean Levy is rumored to have turned them down. Pretty strong rumor. Other directors were turning them down. There were there was stories that they had talked to Greg Berlanti, but they ended up turning Berlanti down no matter what he says in the press. So this is a fascinating thing where it felt like they turned to the Russos out of desperation. And I wonder if Downey Jr., Chris Evans, like, they spoke to them like, would you come back? And they're like, looking at your track record recently, looking at the directors and the writers you've chosen, no way do I want to put my legacy in the hands of someone you might choose. But if you bring back the Russos, I'll come back. Now I'm in the safe hands. Do you feel like that's probably what happened here, is that Marvel got a little desperate, knew they wanted to look a little secure and stable. They went and got the Russos, and that's going to smooth things over and bring back Evans and Downey Jr., maybe Scarlett, other people. What do you think about that?
I mean, we enough of the people that watch this show have watched us on Game Time. So let me ask you a question. When did the Lakers get back to form and start winning chips again?
Phil Jackson, right?
Phil Jackson brought you a three-peat, and you were floating out in the ether, and Kobe was like, you better trade me because I'm done. Yeah. And so what they ended up doing is they went and got the coach that got him to the promised land, got some pieces around him to do it. Yeah. And then they won 2 more, almost 3 in that period of time. That's so true. Like
the Celtics,
I genuinely think this is the same thing that we're seeing here. Yeah. Is that anybody like, sorry, who were you saying that said they wouldn't come back? Was it Downey?
Downey Jr., yeah, or Evans. Evans has been the one that seems adamant to not come back, but yeah.
But he's essentially, you could make the argument either way. Yeah. But he's essentially your both of them are Kobe. I'm not gonna be here if you don't figure this out. And if the coach he wants is bring Phil Jackson back, let's put the band back together, and we've got new players involved, but the core is solidified. That'll work. I think that genuinely works. I again, there is something to be said that you got to be very careful, and we'll talk about that when we get to the more political conversation of it, about just always going back to the well and not training and bringing in new blood to take the next step. Because if you want this to be something that lasts, you need to make way for the future in the next generation. But if the point is that you're trying to do that by letting someone else hold the hand, you make the statement of, I'm just here for this one term so I can write the ship and then I will pass the torch. You don't do that and then go, and now I'm riding it out. You know what I'm saying? So like,
the torch feels real good in my hand, though. It feels real good.
I forgot how good holding this torch feels, though. It feels really good. Like, it's warm, it's symbolic. Medals. People refer to me as the GOAT. Like, I just
Barack, is this what it felt like? Okay, all right. But good points, man. Good points overall, brother. I just wanted to talk about that issue with you because I want to hear what your thoughts were on that. Because I'm excited, but I'm also cautiously. I'm a little trepidatious as well, because if they come in here and it's a mixed results movie, like mixed reviews, mixed feelings from the fans, then at that point, if you're Marvel, there are no more cards to play. Like, there are no more cards to play when you bring your big hitters in, and even they can't get the job done. I think of Gibbs, right? With the Washington Redskins, the old Washington, first time through 3 Super Bowls, second time through, only got us to the playoffs twice, didn't even sniff a Super Bowl. So, like, you can come back and capture the magic, but if you can't capture magic fully, then it's not going to be as great to see them come back, and that could be the shame down the road.
I would also make an argument that if I go back to this Kobe Phil reunion, you will never recapture magic. People need to understand that nothing will ever be the same as to what it was. So to that point, Kobe and Phil got back together. They only won 2 chips. They only had a back-to-back. They didn't have a back-to-back-to-back like they did. You didn't have a Shaq. Like, Gasol is great. Right. You would never in a million years take peak Gasol over peak Shaq. And if you are, you're smoking something. So, like, it's the same kind of situation. Yeah. Perfect build-up. It was something new every time that was only getting better and better. You didn't have the distrust. It's kind of the same way that if you were in a relationship with somebody and you broke up, you know, that negativity will always be there. You can grow past it, but you can't erase it unless you've got an eternal sunshine machine that I don't know about. Right. You can't do that. And even that in that movie, it kind of reminded us that history is important, let alone the idea that it's just not a healthy way to go about things. I wouldn't want us to pretend like we didn't just go through what we went through. Right. I think that helps the journey, and it's what makes the continuation of the story and bringing things back to form feel a little bit better. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah.
I just, that's all. I think that things will be fine. I think that things will get back to the $2 billion range. They can do that. I'm not worried about that. They've proven that with Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I
sure.
truly believe that they'll hit at least $1.5 billion with Deadpool, if not pushing 2, depending on how good the movie is.
Yeah.
Like, I think that they will be fine. I just think that we have to have patience. And I think people need to go forth with a little less guarded energy. I think that becomes hard when we are the state of the world. Again, if once we talk about more of these topics, people's defenses are up and up permanently. Like you're asking now the Kree and the Skrulls to be like, hey, bring them shields down just for a minute, man. We gonna broker some peace. Are we gonna broker some peace, my guy? Like, so, you know, I think that is, you know, kind of where we're at.
Okay. Good points, man. Good points. Absolutely. Well, I see your Streamlabs and SuperChats coming in, everybody. We are going to answer them a little bit later on in the show. Keep sending them in as we go along. But let's move on to this other story here. Winston, you're the one that sent this to me here. We got ourselves a massive outage going on in the world right now. Thousands of U.S. flights were grounded Friday as a technical disaster plagued government agencies and businesses worldwide, leading to countless stranded passengers, canceled medical procedures, disrupted 911 services. And this all comes not from a cyber attack or a security incident. Rather, it has to do with this, with these software, such CrowdStrike software. There was an update, something got clicked or a box didn't get checked. And this software now has absolutely wrecked a number of situations here. People are stranded in the thousands in airports cumulative. We've got 911 services affected in different cities and in Canada as well. Now, as this story has been going along today, some of these servers are coming back up, but this is some scary stuff. You know, we just had the auto dealership cyber attack. The Disney hack was earlier this week. We know the Sony hack a few years ago wrecked Amy Pascal's career at the time for a little bit, and then she's bounced back. So we've seen these hacks, but this is something different where this is a security company making a mistake on an update and in fact Microsoft Windows programs all over the country. You wanted to talk about this. What's your thoughts on all this?
I mean, I think there's a couple things. I think the first is this is what happens. I think this is the conversation that gets brought up a lot. This is what happens when corporations are more worried about profits than people. And I think you would have thought that we would have learned because I say that because CyberStrike apparently accounts for like 90% or something like that of the field for all of these different corporations and whatnot. Ironically, Southwest was not hurt because their tech is so behind that they couldn't get said update. So their flights are still rolling, but American, United, Delta, like all of these major players are out.
Even Spirit, and that's shocking. Spirit using technology more advanced than Southwest. That's a shock. Yeah.
It's kind of wild that the it almost feels like this is the deviants. If you're talking about like not the Inhumans, the Eternals. Deviants, it's our time. Now is our time. Like the lizard people have popped up. You would have thought because of the pandemic, we got to see how razor thin of margins all corporations tend to go. You really follow the mob mentality. You pay the cost of doing business instead of doing the right thing and setting up barriers and safety precautions in case things like that happen. Things are okay. But instead, all these companies went with the most efficient but cheapest option they could find. And in doing so, everything is gone. And so it wasn't just airports, hospitals were affected, banks were affected. Like, Lord knows the number of different things. I've already had a couple of people, like close friends of mine, who are like, I just tried to send in whatever bill and whatnot. Bank shut down, can't get to my money. Now I'm going to end up in a situation like, obviously they'll be able to fight it, but you know how all that corporate nonsense is. They'll eventually probably get the late funds thrown out, like the late fees, but that's a battle they now have to fight that they didn't need to be fighting in the first place.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Let alone because when this stuff happens, the right hand isn't always talking to the left. I've seen a number of videos of people that were like trying to leave Vegas last night. Flight was supposed to be at 8 something last night around when this all started off. The flight officially gets canceled at like 1:30 in the morning. And so it's a situation where a woman is cussing out the clerk being like, why the fuck couldn't you tell me this a few hours ago? And they're like, well, we couldn't. We didn't know. Why the fuck didn't you know? Yeah. And that's the other thing. So you've got people that don't really know what's going on, people that are making these decisions that are only cared about their stock portfolios and their own kind of money and not worried about the little guy. And that shit will F you up.
Yeah.
And here we are. I mean, I'm curious about your thoughts on the whole thing, man.
Well, it makes me, you know, even more afraid of, because we see AI now becoming more and more accepted. I mean, it seems like a lifetime ago that we were complaining about AI in the SAG strike, and now we're seeing AI being used all over the place by artists, by studios. Photographers are using AI in competitions, which is becoming drama. People are using AI all over the place. So it's becoming more and more of an accepted thing. And so the idea of computers encroaching on all of us and technology encroaching on all of us is there. And all these hacks are really scary because all of us have our stuff tied up and we have a trust in the systems that we're giving our money to, the systems that we're signing up for, all that kind of stuff. At any moment, it can plunge us into a worldwide global recession or depression, depending on what happens. And that's dangerous. So the idea that all these people couldn't fly out and didn't know what was going on, all these people had to have their elective surgeries canceled, 911 services. So how many people were affected by not being able to be picked up after a shooting or after a heart attack because of 911 not working in their respective cities? It's all super scary how much we depend on technology in order to function and how quickly our services fall apart without it, man. The Department of Justice had to create workarounds. The DOJ was being affected by it. The Social Security Administration shut down completely today because they couldn't process anything. It's madness.
What's wild to me is the idea that we were so scared 24, 25 years ago about Y2K.
Bruh.
We were so scared.
Bruh.
A quarter of a century ago about Y2K that they went and did all the scrambling to make sure that if the things went down that everything would be fine, and we ended up being fine. And yet here we are now in 2024, and you have a situation and some of the biggest one that I got a text from I already knew this was going on, but I got a text from someone like, hey, be careful, because the one service I didn't realize, 911, is also dealing with these outages. So be very careful if you're out in the streets for any reason, if you're driving, if you're walking around, whatever, that you may or may not be able to get dispatch on stuff like that. That's a whole other thing. They're working on it, but like those are all things. And heaven forbid this had happened to just like internet as a whole or cell services. We're really lucky. Imagine we all woke up and the internet was just gone right now, and you didn't have a way to tell people what was happening. Like, you know what I'm saying? You would think it was World War III and riots would have busted out in the streets. It's not, I can't go to Twitter to see that Spectrum is down via my cell service.
Right.
It's all down. Like that is absolutely terrifying. The other thing, I'm not trying to tell you to go hide money in your mattress, but if there was ever a situation to make sure you have a decent amount of cash in a place that isn't, just in case of emergency. Like I legitimately, y'all should check this out. I found this on TikTok a couple years ago, but you write an envelope for between 1 and 100, and each week you pick 2 of those envelopes at random, and you just put that amount of cash in there and put it to the side. I do that as kind of like an extra side savings thing, apart from how I already do savings from paychecks and stuff like that. I had a friend who, again, was just so screwed and could not access any of her bank accounts. I was like, look, just come over. I'll loan you some cash. I got it. And then, just pay me back as soon as your accounts come back on. I don't think a lot of people ever prepare for situations like that. There's such a big push to go cashless. There's such a big push to just use Apple Pay. Just, tap your whatever, use Google Wallet, whatever it's called. Like it's kind of a scary thing. And so above all else, I hope what this does is this just teaches people to be prepared. I genuinely hope that the lesson from this is that it's proven that technology will fail and that companies don't give a shit about you. So just be prepared in case of emergency.
Yeah, because how many of those companies are going to come back and go, oh, we'll give you a refund, or we'll, any issues? They're not going to do any of that stuff. They're going to wait till you complain. Then they'll maybe throw you some cash to make up for the times that they were down. But yeah, it's crazy how much we depend on. And this is CrowdStrike, by the way, is a very strong company that first came to prominence, investigating Russian interference in our elections. That's where CrowdStrike really kind of made its bones and made its name in all of that. And they figured out how North Korea was affecting our stuff as well and trying to come in and get into our system. So this is a very well-respected cybersecurity system. That being said, one mistake in the update causes all these problems. Yeah,
man. No, the only CS I respect is Counter-Strike. I used to fuck people up in that game. I was so good at that game. Shit, I was in another world, man. I'm out here in MLG. I'm not out here, talking politics and Angel Reese and Kayla Clark and shit. I'm out here just like boom, headshot, bitch. Just
like those guys I see going yelling at each other on esports and stuff, stepping out, getting all insane. It's yeah.
Bro, and then when somebody does something wrong, RKO, just like I can't believe you lost that shit.
Oh man, good stuff. All right, well, let's take a quick break, and on the other side, we're going to get into the madness that went on this week in the political world and comment on it all. And madness, right? This is not about. We're not going to get crazy. It's going to be fun conversation. Trust me. All right, we'll be right back right after this. Oh, I swear, I should play the music here during the break.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to make one like that. All right, we're back. Let's get into things here. What a week it's been. The Republican National Convention was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The place that was I think the birthplace of the Happy Days was in Milwaukee. But we had quite a convention here with some interesting cast of characters. We had Hulk Hogan showing up to tear his shirt off and say, "What are you going to do when the Trumpomaniacs and their walkers and wheelchairs go wild on you?" Then we had Nikki Haley, who had shit on Donald Trump for the majority of her campaign, released her delegates last week, was not going to speak at the convention. But then when she released her delegates and told them to vote for Trump, they suddenly found her a slot at the convention. Marjorie Taylor Greene made a lot of weird noises talking about angels coming down to protect Donald Trump during his assassination. And it was quite a collection of people that were involved in this. And of course, there was a bulldog. There were J.D. Vance was introduced as the vice presidential nominee here, the guy who wrote Hillbilly Elegy, stereotyping Southern characters to make money for himself. But then they were told not to reference him as a person from Appalachia. And then Donald Trump came out wearing that maxi pad on his ear. And it was quite a convention here. Winston, last night it wrapped up. He delivered an hour and a half. I think it was over 90 minute speech to some mixed reviews. But coming out of this thing, man, we also had Amber Rose walking out there and saying that Republicans are her people. The MAGA people are her people. And when Joy Reid called her out for claiming that she's not black, she pushed back on Joy Reid. And then the internet sleuths went down back to 2015 to find when Amber Rose said that she doesn't consider herself black, and she deleted her tweet back at Joy Reid. Madness, Winston. Talk to me about everything.
So let's work our way backwards. So we'll start with Amber Rose. So first of all, it wasn't just that one tweet. There's a number of instances with her on reality TV where she's been called out. It was College Hill, where she's being called out. She'd be like, "But see, you want to be white," and she's like, "You don't know me, or whatever. This parent is white and this parent is black, but you actively push against your blackness constantly. I'm watching you do it." And she's like, "You don't know." I was like, "Bitch, I just heard what you said." Look. I got my issues with Chris Brown. I got some serious Chris Brown issues, but let me tell you something right now. He gave us a lesson that we all need to pay attention to. These hoes ain't loyal, okay? And that's really what look. Amber started or fully funded or brought to the slut walk, which I'm down for. But you think that the Republicans gonna fuck with the slut walk?
No,
ain't a damn one of them. Now, mind you, one thing you did leave out. Is that the founder of Grindr said that the RNC is their Super Bowl.
Yes.
So there were a number of videos of people being at the RNC be like, "Ooh, Jimmy, Johnny, Lawrence, Terrence, Jethro, Bobby, Donald." Like they're just showing. And what's funny to me, but also kind of disgusting, I really can't stand people that will support themselves, but shit on their community.
Yes.
So you had that one black dude. I can't remember his name, but he was the one that was out here in these streets talking about, oh, you know, black people were better during Jim Crow.
Byron Donalds.
Donalds.
Yep.
Fuck him. And especially because the funniest part is when you looked at the shout out on the crowd, he clearly was caping so he could try and get that VP pick, thinking, oh, if he brings a brother on here, then we see that black people ain't racist. This is my chance. And you see JD Vance on the one side with his ass, and he just and
JD Vance has been in politics for 1 year and 5 months, Winston. And these brothers were working hard to become vice president, and he still didn't pick him. He still went with a white guy from the South.
And the funny thing is that so many people in that MAGA camp have been coming at him for having an Indian wife. Like, he married a brown. His child's name is Vivek. That's never, which is also funny when Vivek got clowned by Ann Coulter, talking about, I could say that with you because there aren't blacks around. Ha 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 ha. But also, I would never vote for you because you're Indian. And he just because if I don't know if people are familiar with Francesca Ramsey, she used to do Decoded on MTV. She's been around for a long time. Very funny comedian, writer, all that stuff. She does this little bit on social media called I Never Thought the Leopards Would Eat My Face, where she'll sing a song and post all the ways in which you thought you were getting away with your shit. You thought you let out a bar, and then they came for you. The white girl that was saying the N-word being like, and if you don't like it, fuck you, nigger. Like all that. And then all of a sudden, like, you saw some of the Nazis in there being like, she looks like a Jew. I don't mess with her. And so she thought she had she was like, thanks for giving me my new career as a conservative pundit. And they're like, nope, absolutely not. Get out of here. And so Amber Rose is just the newest in the line of that. By all means, go for it. I guess get as much coin as you can. They will eventually turn on you. They turned on Candace Owens. That was their favorite token. And they have turned on her. You think they ain't gonna turn on you, and you're not even smart. Like, I'm not. Let me be real. I will give Candace credit for one thing and one thing only. I know she's grifting, but she is actually very intelligent. Amber Rose ain't smart, at all. And so it's only a matter of time.
Yeah,
exactly.
A rapper, and she's not a rapper.
So as far as the rest of it, what else? Nikki Haley, I'm not surprised. I called that from jump. That's why it was very weird for me when you had conservatives that were anti-Trump but trying to preserve the Republicans being like, no, like, she's the voice that we need. She's going to stick to it. She immediately, when she realized there was no way, once she lost, she held true that she wasn't going to do it. But once she realized her political career could truly be over permanently, how quickly did she bend the knee?
Of course.
She bent that shit so fast. So pathetic. Hulk Hogan, I know you were sad about it because you're a bigger wrestling fan than I am, and you were the NWO era, all that stuff was like key for you. For me, it was around late 90s, early 2000s when you're hitting The Rock and Stone Cold, you're getting, Generation DX, all that. That's my era of really being into wrestling. So I know that really hurt you, but I didn't care, nor was I surprised, because this is the same one that told Brooke Hogan, don't fuck niggers, and if you're gonna, make it an 8-foot one so we can make a super athlete. That's you know what I'm saying? Like, this is the dude that multiple times has been proven to be racist. So if they want to be excited about that, do they understand they're just bringing the movie Idiocracy to life? Like, the whole Terry Crews as a wrestler coming out, president! Like, that's okay if that's what you want. Like, all right. And then finally, Trump's 90-minute speech coming out with the do you know how many of his older constituents he gave seizures with when he had Trump with the flashing lights coming out and shit?
God.
I'm surprised by the fact that people were just so into this one way or the other. It is what it is. I guess my last little thing that I think that there's just
this is what Winston is talking about. Look at this. I'm gonna have a seizure right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a seizure right now.
And then his name. Yep.
You're telling me you don't like the LGBTQ plus community, and that is literally the beginning of a Broadway musical with gay guys jumping out to dance.
You are stupid.
Is nonsense, for God's sake. Absolutely. Look at this. Look at that. That's like, Papa, I was born. I mean, like, literally, that is absolutely what you're seeing. It's nonsense, man. Go ahead,
no, you're fine. It's just crazy to me. I just also I heard someone Ronnie Chang on the Daily Show. He made a good point.
Yeah.
Y'all really he's like, I understand that Kanye has kind of put himself up as a Nazi at this point, but you've already made it clear that you are allowing Nazis to kind of roll with you. Why you wouldn't let him come out and do a rap song instead of that you know the Temu version of Vanilla Ice?
Yeah, Slim Nobody. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, Slim Nobody, you ain't shit. Oh man, you're talking about Paul Build the Wall. I mean, I made fun of him with the Breakfast AM News bit I was doing last year because he did a song about Target that was just not good.
I remember that.
This idiot.
These two idiots coming together. I mean, there's not a brain cell between them. Come on, like co-starring. I mean, it's ridiculous. And of course, they're in front of a truck, Elon Musk truck,
cyber truck. Yeah.
Look at these two. Come on, man,
dude.
You know how quickly they would hang these two if it meant they could have a white power over the country. It's nonsense, man.
Bro, Paul Build a Wall out here just looking pathetic. I cannot stand that dude. But I just, it is what it is, man. I think, to me, as we get to the Biden side of this thing and what the Democrats are going to do, it's why I get really upset when we can't have an honest conversation about what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
I need the Democrats to just be honest, and it's finally time that they're doing that. It sounds like it, because if the one thing you're pushing above all else is that Trump and the coalition or the cult, whatever you want to call it, that he's built, is okay lying to you 24/7 to get the shit across that they want to get across,
right?
Then you don't get to claim to be the opposite of them if you cannot tell the truth. You need to be honest about how the situation is laid out. So it doesn't mean that Biden isn't necessarily a better option than Trump, but you need to be honest about that he's old. You need to be honest about that he's not the same lively Biden that he was in 2019, 2020, that naturally age, but then the age in which the president takes on by being president hit him hard.
Yeah.
So let's just be honest about it. And if you can at least be honest about that, then we can have a conversation. Okay, well, what are next steps? What can he do and what can he do? But this idea, when he was asked multiple times in interviews, did you watch the debate? No, I didn't watch the debate. It was just a bad night. It is what it is.
I lived it. Why do I need to watch it? I lived it. I was there.
For somebody that claims to be so pro-American, do you know every athlete goes and watch tape about what they did right and what they did wrong and how they could do better?
It's true.
Someone that wants to improve watches their performance, takes notes, and does better and makes adjustments. And that, to me, has been the thing I think that has been most offensive, is that we're trying to pretend like it doesn't exist. That's that bullshit I saw growing up with, like, in the Black community, where it's very clear this person is like special needs. We need to get them. Nothing wrong, my baby. My baby fine. You leave my damn baby alone. Ain't nothing wrong with my damn baby. Why worry about your baby, bitch? Like, that's, or if we went and got the proper help for X, Y, and Z, that person could actually thrive versus them having to work 10 times as hard to get where they need it. You could get them the right tools that they are able to thrive like everyone else and not have to struggle. That's a real thing, is that if you can acknowledge when something needs a little bit extra, you can do better.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to end up like Giuliani, right? You don't want to end up, I mean, let's go to the videotape. What's the, you don't want to end up like Giuliani, man. I mean, look at that. Like, that's not how you want to end up when it's all over, man. America's mayor falling down like this. He already had he's been disbarred, so he can't practice law in New York. And the two ladies won the bankruptcy hearing recently, so he has to give them the money now. So he can't get away with not paying the two ladies that he abused in Georgia for this situation. So, you don't want to end up like that.
Dude,
yes.
all I can say is America's mayor. Giuliani is still America's mayor the way the Cowboys are still America's team. And that hurt my fucking soul. That hurt my soul. to say that, but that's what I need from the Democrats. Some fucking honesty about what the fuck is going on. You know what I'm saying?
We're going to get to the Democrats. I want to hit with this thing real quick that you mentioned as well. Here's the Grindr situation. Outages all over the place here.
It's the RNC.
And this is from Ricky Davila. After gay dating app Grindr is experiencing an unprecedented 350% increase in traffic this week in the city of Milwaukee, and the RNC being there is the obvious reason. The biggest homophobic, hateful bigots are often the most closeted hypocrites. I agree. So yeah, I mean, like, it is massive, the Grindr situation.
It was massive.
This person is opening Grindr at the RNC
and just flipping through
all those people.
Yeah,
I don't advocate outing someone, of course, because that's violating someone's personal business, but I mean, shit. That's a very real possibility.
It's normally used to speak on black folk like a Clarence Thomas that get up and then kick the ladder out, but that's very crabs in a bucket. It's like, I'm gonna get mine, you can't have yours.
Oh yeah,
and like that's the funny thing about it is, like, you would think just by the nature. I'm just gonna make a little out of pocket joke right now. You would think by the nature of the Democrats being donkeys as their mascot, you're all about that ass, right? But don't forget, the elephant got that trunk. So that's you know what I'm saying? Like, you just out here doing your thing.
True. All right, one last thing.
Pachyderm is packing it in. You know what I'm saying?
One last thing I want to pass this on. Guys, stay away from plastic surgery. Just stay away from plastic surgery. This
Lord,
is what can happen to your life. I love that the Daily Show called him the mayor of Whoville, and that is just perfect for Matt Gaetz. Why are you doing this? And of course, there was that embarrassing moment. He crashed a Kevin McCarthy live spot on the floor of the RNC. Matt Gaetz did, and said, "Why aren't you up there? Why aren't you up there?" And when McCarthy called him an asshole, Gaetz said, "Oh, because they're going to boo you off the stage. They're going to boo you off the stage." And then another guy stepped to Matt Gaetz and said, "Why are you being an asshole, man?" And this guy was going to throw hands. He's a representative, I think, from Illinois, Indiana. He was going to throw hands on Matt Gaetz, and Matt Gaetz tucked his tail between his legs and crawled on out between people because he knew he was going to get his ass kicked. So it's just all performative bullshit, and it's madness to watch it half the time, for God's sake. And yes, Matt Gaetz should absolutely fire his plastic surgeon. Yeah, I don't know how you go to national stage with your face like that. Dude.
It's the same one that did Drake's BBL. BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy.
So let's deal with the Democrats. Winston, you're absolutely right to bring this up. It is now madness what is going on. I am very much in the camp of, I think Biden is the only person who's going to be able to beat this guy. I'm in that camp. That being said, though, all this news coming out, all this information coming out that they were possibly hiding the truth about Biden's not age, but his physical condition, his mental acuity, all this. And now, look, he tested negative for Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, all that stuff. It's just that he's slower. So fine. But this idea that all this stuff is coming out now, it's really frustrating because now it gives more fuel to the people who want to see him step down. But it's such a complicated issue because I also don't want rich Democratic donors, mostly liberal and white. I don't want them to tell me who the fuck I can vote for because they don't want to donate money anymore to the situation. It's the truth. It's the reality, but I hate it. So it's all over the place, this stuff. What are your thoughts on this, man? Do you think they stay? Do you think they go? Biden, after the speech, came out this morning and said, "I'm back on the campaign trail tomorrow," after there were reports that top donors were going to Biden to try to get him to step down. What do you think happens here, bro?
I think a lot of it depends on what they have as an alternative. And to me, this is part of what I'm saying about there is a because you're technically Gen X.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. The only reason why I ask is because one of the things,
I'm not Z. I know that.
Bitch. Look, I know you've considered yourself a part of every generation, the greatest generation, the boomer generation, Gen X, millennial.
I've been around a while. I've been around
Alpha, been around for a while. You don't said you're part of every generation. I get it, Rocha. But I say all that to say one of the things
These are my people.
Every time he walks in a room, these are my people.
Yeah.
One of my biggest concerns is all politicians on both sides of the aisle have not done a good job of bringing in new blood. They really haven't. And the promise that Joe made when he was in 2020, and I said this earlier, he said, I'm going to right the ship and then I'm going to step aside for the next generation to come in. That is specifically what he said. I'm going to undo the damage that was done. Yeah. I'm going to do that. So you already had people that were upset with you from jump when that was your promise.
It's true.
And you instead said, no, I'm not leaving, because at that point that feels like ego. Now, here is something that someone told me. I'm not trying to get conspiracy about it, but just to think about maybe what's going on here.
Sure.
I think there was potentially what someone told me. I think there was a conversation that, okay, we do think Biden might not be healthy enough to go forth, right?
Yeah, the 4 years.
But we have a very strong like VP that as president, I genuinely think that Kamala would do very well. But if we're being honest, when you look at her numbers, you look at how there is obviously black folk that are supporting her because she is black, but there's a lot of black folk that don't trust her because of when she was a DA. And I wish people would look more at those numbers and realize that she actually did put less people in jail than previous DAs. But I understand the concern, so I'm not gonna, or AG, excuse me, not DA, AG. I understand that.
Yep.
I have a feeling that maybe the game plan was, when someone told this to me, it made a lot of sense. Get Biden through the election, give it a few months, maybe a year, and if his health really does still decline, he steps down, and then Kamala becomes president. Because I don't think if we're just calling a buck, a spade, that Kamala can just win. I don't. And I'm not even trying to be negative, not because I don't think she's a strong politician. I think it's because we've been proven time and again that this country is very racist and very sexist, and especially this current climate. So if Hillary couldn't make it, and she was actually an ideal candidate to be the first woman to do that, I just don't. I find it much harder that a black woman that is not bulletproof, like saying Obama when he was going to run that first time, can do it. So like I think that maybe that was their reasoning here. Is it is like, damn, okay, we don't want to jump over her, so maybe we just kind of see if we can force our way across the finish line and pretend like we can, and then let her take over. Because the one line they kept saying, hey, you're not just voting for Biden, you're voting for his administration. You're voting for his administration. And he even tried to say recently, but he fucked it up, tried to be like, hey, we're strong. I put the right stuff in place. I am so proud of everything that Vice President Trump has done, meaning Harris, meaning he was genuinely trying to like kind of tee her up that if something does happen to him, that she can handle it. That is what, when someone told me that, I said, oh shit, that actually makes logical sense.
No,
So,
sorry, keep finishing your point, brother. Sorry.
So that's really all. What scares me is anybody that you want to put forward. There's also the whole talk that the way that the dollars and the donations are set up, it's for the ticket. So the only person that could technically accept the money that's already been sent in is Kamala. It can't be, you can't, if you throw the whole ticket out, you can't just like, here's Buttigieg and Newsom, and they're like, yeah, they can have the money. That's not how that works. But it legally would have to dissipate out. So you know what I'm saying? So like, that's the thing that worries me.
Well, that's the confusion of it all, right? So, like, AOC was on last night for an hour on IG Live, and I would say if you guys haven't seen that, you can watch that video. I'm sure it's up on YouTube somewhere. Like, you can watch her break it all down. AOC is incredibly intelligent. I wish she was running. I think she'll run at some point down the road as she gets a little more seasoning, a little more knowledge of the game. She's going to run, and I will vote for her enthusiastically. And watching that IG Live, I spent about 30 minutes. She goes into all the nooks and crannies of what's involved in this stuff, which most people don't have the time to really like invest in figuring out because they got so many things going on with their lives. So this is the thing that you can understand clearly. Like there is, as Winston pointed out, there's a lot of hoops. You don't just make the change and everything just keeps going. Like there are so many rules and regulations around donations and financial stuff, and also delegates. And we don't know if there are states who are going to be, we're not going to recognize that candidate because we got behind Biden and you've replaced him with someone else. We're not just going to give you our votes. And there's going to be lawsuits from the Republican side of things trying to force this to not happen once it starts to happen. It's a quagmire. And then strip that all away, as Winston said earlier, she is a black woman in America. And as great as black women have been saving our asses over the last few election cycles, for sure, there is also a hardcore sexist amount of sexist in our voting block, especially because more people vote older than younger, and they become entrenched with their sexist points of views and the racist points of views as well, Winston, which you were bringing up as well. And that's on both sides. I'm going to put this on the table here now.
Yeah.
Don't think Democrats ain't racist. There are racist Democrats. There are sexist Democrats.
Of course.
And that's in the end could be what bites Kamala. And we don't know if Kamala has skeletons. We don't know what she's got in that closet. There have already been controversies with people who used to work for her, calling her out for, being abusive. There's all kinds of stuff that could come out that could sink her quickly. And that's my concern as well.
Absolutely. And but I think the way you do it to protect the dollars, to do that, I think you do, because the other thing that'll happen, I think the linchpin moment where I was already like, dude, I'm not happy about Biden running. Like I already felt that way before. It got infinitely worse for me come the debate.
Oh God, yeah.
And I think the final point where I was like, he's got to be out, but I also did not see a way forward. I didn't know what you would do, was when he was in the interview and he said, okay, what if you say that this election is as important as it is? It's for the soul of America. Genuinely, this is the moment. It's with Project 2025 on the line and everything else, and you lose. How would you feel about that? And he goes, well, here's the deal.
I give it.
If I tried my best, then I would be proud. Bitch, this ain't about you trying your best. That's your fucking ego talking. That is your ego talking. That it is about doing what needs to be done in order to protect the country. If you truly are in this camp that this is it, if Trump and Project 2025 comes in, that America as we know it shifts, then it ain't no do your best. That you have to figure it the fuck out. So I think the way you do it is Biden steps aside, Kamala takes a thing, but then what you have to do, it can't be, I hate to say it, it can't be any sort of anybody that's a minority or anything. Yeah. So it couldn't be Buttigieg. It can't be Newsom right now because he still hasn't, he has too much of a taint of people that left California talking about they don't like him. He'll get there. Yeah. He'll get there.
Yeah.
He's not, but he needs time to adjust his image before he can run for president like that. The two that I got to give Kristen credit for this, because she was my girlfriend. She was the one that put me on game. Andy Beshear, the governor of Kentucky.
Yes.
White dude out of Kentucky who really is, he is a Democrat, but he has the idea to bring you that kind of middle ground situation, and that will bring stuff in. The other one she put out there, not for her because he's a little more right leaning, but Josh Shapiro, the Pennsylvania governor, would be another option. Yeah. You just have to show the ticket that for those that are going to try and be racist or sexist or anything like that, that you've got this other voice in the same way that Biden went and put Kamala in as his VP, so that you showed black women, I got your back. Yeah. The Democrats are also showing, hey, it is, even though we know better than to say, oh, DEI didn't earn it, all that shit. That's not what this is. You know what I'm saying? That it's like, she is the best person to go forward based upon how things are set up, but we have other people in here. So hey, white guys, you're not getting left behind type situation. You do something like that. And someone mentioned Gretchen Whitmer. The reason why I don't think Gretchen Whitmer would work. Yeah. I like Gretchen. And if she was the VP type situation off of it, that would be different.
I like that. Yeah.
But the reason why that doesn't work with her and Kamala, or even her on her own, A, we already mentioned the donation dollars, and B, do you not remember that there were some crazies that literally tried to kidnap and kill her, that they tried to also do a recall on her and things like that. You've got too many situations going on that, I don't think that that's a very strong ticket the way that is. Yeah. I think you have to find a way to get what you need, and keeping Kamala in there would be part of that. But then also remember, it's not just how you think. You were attempting to convince people that aren't involved at all. You're trying
Yeah.
to convince people that are potentially in the center or that really don't fuck with Trump, but maybe they feel weird about the Bidens. So,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that guy I might kind of fuck with. Sure. You need to be able to talk to more than just yourself. You got to talk, because especially with Democrats, they have set themselves up to be the coalition. And so if they are the coalition of the willing, man, then you need to be able to get the coalition together.
Yeah. I just wish Michelle Obama would just play a hand, man. Because I mean,
she doesn't want to, dude.
I know. I got to respect that. But wouldn't it be ironic if once again, for another election cycle, a black woman has to come in and save our asses from ourselves? Because she polled in that recent poll, she polled 10 points higher than Trump. That's incredible, the amount of respect she has across the spectrum of
she does. But here's the question. There's a couple of things that she would immediately get eviscerated, and I don't blame her for deciding. First of all, how much vitriol did she get just by being the first lady?
I know.
She wasn't even a mayor, a controller, a congressman, a senator. She was just the first lady, meaning that policy is not up to her.
Right.
And how many sorts of like sexist ass, oh, that's really a man, racist ass, oh, look at this monkey. Like how many horrible things. And I do not blame her for being like, I don't
want to do it. Yeah.
But again, she also was not a politician. She knows how to politic because she was out there on that trail making Barack look good, making the Dems look good. But she is never, for what she has said, put out there saying that was something she wants. So I actually start to get offended for Michelle when people keep asking her to do it, because in the same way that a number of black women have said, stop making us clean up your mess. This is another situation of, hey, if we're watching The Help, you literally like, hey, Viola, just raise my child because I'm not doing a very good job of doing it myself. And you're not going to get the credit that you deserve for doing that. And you're going to get bullied and called all sorts of horrible things and treated terribly, but go fix it for us because we weren't able to do that. It's starting to upset me. If she said she was interested, that'd be one thing, but she has said multiple times she's not. So I really wish people would stop bringing it up, because Rocha, imagine if somebody had straight up
a conversation. You know, I'm not bringing.
Oh no, I know, and that's what I'm saying. And to the people that say that, how about you respect no means no for this being a party that is all about women, her body, her choice.
Good point.
How about respect the fact that Michelle said she's not interested? So leave her alone.
Yeah, just leave her alone.
Leave her alone.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's going to be more twists and turns here, brother, man. It's a madhouse. And of course, we just had an assassination attempt, which is even crazier. And there's questions around that because the kid was a registered Republican. His dad was on the Trump rolls of voters there for the gun love that he had, and the Secret Service. And now there's rumors that they weren't actually Secret Service; they were Trump's team of security people. And so there's just a lot of stuff out there now that we're still trying to find out. And he won't release his medical records to even verify that he got shot. So, and then on the other side, as you said, with the Democrats, we don't know what's going to happen. Does the speech now make the donors question that Biden can't win or can win now? Do they think are they going to be back supporting him? Is he going to fight the elite of the party? So this is like watching a football game. You have no idea who's going to win. Both sides are just messing up drives left and right, and you really cannot tell who's going to win. You want one team to win personally, but you just don't know if they're going to be able to do it at the last moment or not, because it feels like this is going down to the last days of the election, for God's sake. So yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. I know, and Hillary polled higher than all. I would love if Hillary came back out of nowhere, like what do they call it? Like a Royal Rumble. It's Hillary Clinton who shows up out of nowhere. It's Hillary Clinton with a steel chair.
She's the last person in. Quick chair to the head, throw him over the ropes. Just.
The greatest revenge would be to her to come back all these years later and defeat Trump. It would be amazing. All right, let's take a quick break, and on the other side, we'll hit your Streamlabs super chats. We'll finish up our topics. We got to wrap up here in the next 25 minutes. We'll be right back right after this.
Pour. Rap, break, yeah. And you said you didn't have it ready, so I just tried to help you out, bro.
That's very good. I appreciate that. All right, let's hit these topics and then we'll hit the Streamlabs super chats, man. We're almost running out of time. Manny Jacinto talked a little, calling out Tom Cruise. What do you think about this? Real quick, Winston, he was in Top Gun Maverick, and of course now just of course as the as Chimere / the Stranger there in the recently wrapped up Acolyte, possibly season 1, maybe the only season. But in the Top Gun Maverick, he played Lieutenant Billy Fritz Avalone. And he was talking with GQ recently, an interview that's out now, and he said it was fun to do the film, but they cut his lines, almost all his lines from the movie, and he only appeared in the background of a few quick scenes. And he said, fortunately, it was still a great experience. You kind of feel like a superhero a bit when you're training for all this stuff for a Tom Cruise movie, but it also kind of fuels you when your lines get cut, because at the end of the day, Tom Cruise is writing stories for Tom Cruise. It's up to us, Asian Americans, people of color, to be that for ourselves. We can't wait for somebody else to do it. If we want bigger stories out there, we have to make them for ourselves. Now, I understand his point, but people get cut all the time, regardless of color or ethnicity or gender. People get cut from movies all the time, Winston. So do you think he's just using this opportunity to promote Asian American stories? Or do you think there's some validity to him being cut out in this way? Or what are your thoughts on this?
I think two things can be true at once. I think that when you're making art, it could be an album, it could be a movie, it could be a book. Some stuff is gonna get left on the cutting room floor by the nature of stuff happening. That happens. But he's also right. I think the lesson to be learned here is that he still got experience. He still has that credit. He still has those people in those camp that supported him, and he got that training, so he knows how to do all that kind of stunt stuff, and he's seen what his body can pull off. But it's still soul crushing. If you're anybody in this industry, then you're very aware at any point in time your shit could just be gone.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And so I think he's correct. The only way that you're going to guarantee that like the Asian man story and like a fighter plane thing happens is if an Asian director and an Asian writer put Asian cast in a movie, and then it goes off and it does incredible. But I think that doesn't have to be narrowed to Asians. I think that could be about anybody. I think if you want to see you on any sort of thing, then you should like go and make it happen. So I don't think what he said is incorrect, because he didn't blaspheme Tom Cruise or the movie.
Right.
I think he said what's exactly true. Tom Cruise loved Top Gun so much and wanted to do a sequel. Tom Cruise got a crew together to remake one of his favorite movies and turned around and said, let me go make this happen. And he did have inclusion here. That like you had Jay Ellis, who was in the movie, but his role was also pretty small. And it really just focused.
Monica Barbaro was in the movie. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, but none of them were the focus. The focus ended up being Tom Cruise, and ended up being Glenn Powell, and ended up being Miles Teller. So it just is what it is. So unless he had got cast in that role as like, you know, in the Glenn Powell role, he was the main rival to Miles Teller. Unless that's what happened, it's just the nature of how this all works. Yeah. But I don't think he's wrong. I think that again, someone who's been in this industry this long, you have as well. Like Rocha, what did you do once the Collider thing went sideways?
I sat around for about 3 or 4 weeks, feeling sorry for myself, wondering what I was going to do, deciding if I should move to another outlet or try to apply, and just dealing with the shock of it all. And then my girlfriend said, get up off your ass, start your own YouTube channel, find out if you can do it on your own, and then go from there. And that's what I did. Make your own stories. You always said, she said, you always complained that you weren't going to allowed to be on certain reviews. Now you can review everything. So yeah, it was, you got to do for yourself. And I'll tell you what, these last 4 years were happier than any year I spent at Collider dealing with begging to be on certain things constantly. So yeah.
And the funny thing is, at the same time, you may have been upset about how it ended, but were you ever upset about the experience, the connections, all the stuff that you made from Collider?
Yeah. I can't thank them enough for giving me the opportunity, for sure. Yeah.
And I think that that's all this is. I think what he is essentially saying out loud is the thing that we need to remember is he got incredible experience on a major blockbuster, one of the highest grossing of all time, with one of the biggest movie stars of all time.
Yeah.
And now, having learned from that, I'm upset that I didn't get to even the small part that I had didn't get more feature in it, but I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And the thing I learned is I got to make my own way. And that ain't that the motherfucking truth.
It's so true. It's so true. And he said this, you get to see this huge machine at work, see how Tom Cruise works, and you get to be a small part of this huge franchise. It was a great experience. So yeah, exactly as you said. And the fact that it fueled him speaks volumes about him and the work he did in the Acolyte, because I would argue that him and Lee Jung-jae were the best parts of the Acolyte, acting-wise and character-wise, with what they were able to do. So more power to them.
Yeah, and then the last thing, I know some people are going to be like, "Oh, that sounds very racist of you," but let's once again look at how the world as a whole is shaping.
Yeah.
The first thing is, above all else, nobody is going to care about you, and that could be physically you, the person, you, the collective, whatever, more than you.
Yep.
Period. Nobody is checking for you the way that you are checking for you.
Yep.
That's just how that goes. So if there is something about that makes you feel some type of way, that is the correct move. So you move through a particular space so you get the experience you need, the clout you need, whatever, but then make a way for yourself. That's literally why you hear Nick Cannon talk about wilding out. And he was just like, I saw, the SNLs and things like that did have like a couple brothers and sisters here and there, but there wasn't really a Black culture outlet for improv, for stuff like that. So I made my own thing, and that's been going 21 years strong. And to this day, it's still not just Black, but like helping urban comedians, period, no matter what race they are, have that opportunity to blow up. And the number of people that like Cat Williams was already doing Friday After Next, but he was one of the first stars on Wild 'N Out. Look where his career went. Kevin Hart started on Wild 'N Out, even though he was doing some stuff, but then look where his career went. And a number of other people. DC Young Fly's the big one right now, that he's still on the show, but the career it's given him. There is a point in time where you have to look out for you, your family, your collective, however, whatever group you're seeing. And that doesn't necessarily mean you need to be exclusionary.
Right.
And I think that's not good.
Right.
But it does mean that you can put a focus on you. It's kind of why I watch Barbie. And yes, there were plenty of men that went in there and they balled out. I thought obviously Ryan Gosling was incredible, but so was Kingsley Benadir.
Yeah.
Like, awesome. But that was about uplifting Greta and Margot, uplifting all those wonderful women that were in that movie. For America Ferrera to get that nomination and things like that, it was, the men still had a chance to shine, but the focus was on the women. And you saw people around the world, but especially women and little girls, be like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's the same thing that's happening with the W. You know what I'm saying? It's not that little girls can't be inspired by LeBron, but seeing Angel and seeing Caitlyn and seeing Asia and seeing Sabrina, that's what's going to inspire a little girl to go, I can ball too. You know?
For sure. Good segue, because that's what we're going to next as our final topic. We got to touch base with this. Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark going to be on the same team this weekend, Winston, and both of them are really hitting their stride over the last few weeks here. Caitlin Clark recently had that game where she broke the record for rookie assists in a game. Certainly Angel Reese had this long streak of double-doubles that was broken up by the New York Liberty on a final play when like all 5 of the players crowded around her. But incredible legacies already. We're only halfway through the season. That's crazy. And they are the 2 people that are going to be looked at the most here going into this WNBA All-Star weekend. So your thoughts on where we're at now with the Rookie of the Year situation, and what do you anticipate in this WNBA game with Caitlin and with Angel? What are your thoughts?
I need to share this first, though.
Right.
Just really quick, because I was going to pull something up about Angel and Caitlin, but you'll share my screen here.
Is this the one you showed me last night? This one?
No. So Joe Biden tweeted on the 17th, "I'm sick," when he got COVID, and Lil Wayne just quote tweeted today, "Motherfucker, I'm ill." If you remember that was from the Carter 3, I believe that was a Millie. And when he said, "Motherfucker, I'm ill," so I just thought that was kind of brilliant. All right, Caitlin and Angel. I'm glad that things have calmed down a significant amount, because it was getting unbearable, but it still kind of is. The tweet that I wanted to bring up that I think was important
Okay.
Was, let me find it here super fast.
Okay.
I might
Here,
have,
why don't while you look, I'm going to bring up
yeah.
the tweet you sent me, which
Oh, sure.
had us laughing last night.
Sure.
This is Caitlin Clark here, frustrated, throwing the water bottle down, and the towel girl goes, "Oh, girl, damn!" I tell you, I admire the intensity, but I also understand why you'd make that look like I'm gonna leave her alone now.
Right. Okay. So here it is. So it's the same video essentially, but I wanted to. This guy quote tweeted it, and I thought that this was important. He said, "People who know me know I really don't care if Caitlin Clark smashes a water ball, and I don't care when Tom Brady smashes laptops. All I'm asking is that if you ever see this from Angel, that you call her a competitor too. Deal?"
Yeah,
and
totally.
I think that to me has been the problem. And that's the thing that a lot of people wouldn't admit. I agree that the media has been stirring the pot on all of this because just like how they've been handling politics, the more controversy provides more clicks, which stirs the whole thing up and everybody makes money. And that's what they're doing. Right.
Yep.
I also want people to just be more honest about stuff as far as this goes. So again, people kept acting like Caitlin was some sort of like just lily flower that needed protected, but she is a competitor. She's done all sorts of stuff where she has thrown people down, hit people in the eyes, all sorts of stuff. So it's not like she was getting any, like she might have been catching more strays from everyday fans. But as far as the dub goes, where they were getting mad is watching how people were talking about her like she was God's gift to basketball and they weren't shit. And but at the same time, I understand folks being like, sure, but also you do see how many more eyes she's brought to the game at the same time. People were refusing to give up any ground. And in doing so, it kept making things worse and worse. So like Angel's record was incredible. And sure, was the team kind of pushing to help her continue to go there? Yeah. But you also have to be honest with stuff when people are like, well, she just gets only her own rebounds because she's so bad at shooting. It's like, yeah, but I want you to go and look at other people's offensive rebounds that have a similar kind of percentage of her, and they're not even close. It takes a certain level of competitive dog to do that. In the same breath, I need the people that won't give Caitlin her props. 19 assists is insane. That's an insane record to break. That's madness. And in the same breath, I also need people to just be honest that her turnovers are still a problem. And I get that some of the best point guards that have ever played the game are going to have high turnover numbers, but it is crazy to pretend like having 40 plus more turnovers than the next person in the league isn't actually a problem. And yes, you needed to do more than this one turnover here at the end of this game against the Wings, but there's a reason she spiked her water bottle. That's a bad turnover on her part that cost them the game. And I think that the greatest comparison I have for Caitlin at this point reminds me a lot of Dak and Romo in the sense that if you actually look at their numbers and what they were doing, it was crazy. But those turnovers would creep up, whether it be their fault directly or the person they were passing to messing something up for them. It still is a number that matters. What are we looking at here?
This was a few days ago on the 15th of July. And as you pointed out, the game last night, I think it was last night, she broke the single season turnover record with 15 games left in the regular season.
Right.
So she's broken the record for turnovers by anybody, not rookies.
It's really bad. And like again, I would have a question for you, John. Would you prefer a LeBron that gets you to the finals 10, 11 times, or a Michael Jordan who gets you there 6, but you win all 6?
6 and I win all 6.
Versus let's say LeBron gets to one more finals and let's say he wins one more ring. So he's got 5. So he went 11 times, but he went 5 out of 11. So you still didn't get to 6.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? How would you feel?
I'd still take the 6 over 6.
And so
it's just a personal preference. That's personal. I'm not judging anybody to go the other direction.
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that either. But again, in the same way that people love to, Brett Favre was known for a lot of turnovers. If the Brett Favre was that gunslinger, right? Awesome. It's great. But to that point, he was only then able to get you one ring. So like, let's say that Caitlin is this player, breaks all these records, most points ever, most assists ever, all that stuff, but it doesn't turn into chips. And that has been the thing that's been the problem. She'll have a crazy game.
Yeah.
She'll have an insane game, but it won't become a dub.
Yeah.
That is, and then when it's in a championship moment, it won't become a dub. I think that that's something that has to be looked at and acknowledged. But what makes it hard is because she's catching so much flack from people, then all of a sudden you won't, in the same way that you won't acknowledge Biden's old. There's more important things to talk about right now. You can have two thoughts at the same time.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I hope the fervor dies down. Let these ladies play. It was nice at the beginning because we're all in the drama and we love the drama, not just human beings. But now that they're actually playing really well, both of them, it's fun to watch them play, and yeah, Caitlin's turnovers are frustrating. Sometimes it's because of the teammates. Other times, you got to be honest, it's because some of these passes she's trying to thread through there are really like low percentage completion passes that don't turn into points. And so it affects her numbers. She's just got to get smarter and more intelligent as a player to understand that. And I agree with you, Winston. If she only wins one chip, you can't call her the GOAT. You just can't. If she wins multiple chips, then it's a whole nother conversation. But this is where she has to prove it. This is the pros, right? College is fine. Iowa, you had to drag that team to the final twice. That's fair. But she didn't play on UConn or these other big stack teams.
Which is
but
great.
now that you're in the WNBA, there's no more excuses, man. You got to be able to win titles if you want to be considered one of the greats.
Absolutely. And like, I was even wondering if maybe this turnover thing was, her team just can't handle what she's doing. And then I went to go look at her college stats because everyone just paid attention to her assists and her points. Bro, she was averaging 4.7 over her career. That's where I'm like, I need you guys to just be honest, because now we're talking about somebody who thinks that their passes are invincible.
Yeah.
And if you're averaging 4.7 for your college career, you've already surpassed the record as a rookie going on. Yeah. There's a point at which it's not just, hey, it's just my teammates can't catch the ball. Then if you know your teammates can't catch that pass, why are you still throwing it?
Right. Because then at some point, if you're arguing about Angel stat padding with the rebounds, you'd have to argue, why is Caitlin trying to do these things? Is it to pad her assist stats? Is it to pad this kind of situation as well? Throwing these passes that she knows her teammates can't complete and finish the play. It's like a quarterback that throws passes over the middle, endangering their receivers, and then goes, "Why didn't you catch it?" So it's like you got to be aware of what. And I'm like, again, she's a rookie, only half the season. So I hope she grows as she gets into the second, third year. She has
been. That's the one thing that I want to make sure that I end this conversation with, because it's for a while Angel's record was going, I had Angel as the de facto MVP, but a rookie of the year, not MVP. Angel Wilson has that locked up, in my opinion.
Yes,
but now that that streak is over, and it doesn't mean that Angel couldn't still play exceptionally well. The things that Caitlin's been doing and continues to do and continues to shatter, she's gonna win Rookie of the Year.
She's always on purpose.
Yeah.
I agree, brother. I agree. But it shouldn't but listen, if Caitlin wins, it doesn't mean what Angel did is somehow
absolutely
or denigrates. And I think they should not see it that way. You know what I'm saying? So all right, well, there we go. That's the show for topics. We're gonna get into Streamlabs and SuperChats here as we wrap up. We want to wrap up in the next 10 minutes or less if we can. Jay West says, what's new? What news or updates would you guys like to hear from Feige about the future of Marvel at Comic-Con? Well, it's only slated for an hour, this Marvel presentation. So I can't imagine they're going to give you too much about the future at Comic. Maybe the Fantastic Four comes out. What do you think here, Winston?
That Jordan Peele is directing Blade.
Listen, I'm on record with a tweet of that months ago. I hope it happens. I'm a fan of it.
Because he announced the date of his next movie. So what if they just, instead of constantly building you up and breaking you down, that was the only little news you got, because the font looked a little Blade-ish.
Yes, it did.
And then it's like we finally got under control. Jordan is writing it or co-writing it. He's directing it. Mahershala is happy. We're doing just fine.
It's either Spike Lee or Jordan. I think that's the only way you keep Mahershala Ali on the project. Victor Garrity says, as a Wizards fan, I can tell you, bringing in an old goat doesn't always work. Well, that's a Wizards hat, and I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yikes.
Yeah. I went to see Jordan play in an exhibition match. Only time I ever saw Jordan play live, and it was fun, but It was a complete and utter mess. Brighty says RNC crashed the Grinder site this weekend, which we talked about, which is hilarious. Victor coming back says Bill Clinton and George W. Bush are younger than both of our candidates. That's nuts if you think about it. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, they also ran younger, and so yeah, but that's fair.
But that is another conversation then to be had. Like, I know people love to throw ageism around with old people, and there are some things, but again, we're not having an honest conversation about things. Right. Why is it that you think that we want your 75-year-old ass running the country when you will not be here? Most likely by the time your term is done. And I'm not wishing death upon no old people. I'm just from the standpoint of, let's call it a buck. That's the life expectancy is what, 76? So if your ass made it to 81, that's impressive. Why don't you go drink a sweet tea and lie down? Like, I just because you're making rules for people that are going to be here and you're not. And I think that is kind of ridiculous. It's one thing when it's your parents and you're a child. So it's like, I don't know better. I'm not in my life yet. You're still running my life. But if I'm in my 30s, 35 something, it's around time for me to get into politics. Let me make rules for me and the people that'll be here. Stop doing that shit. Yeah. You can't keep your shit in. Leave me alone.
I'm going to live, man. I don't know why you're doubting me. Why are you doubting me? I'm being honest.
Well, just because you found the fountain of youth and you won't share it, Rocha, you're a special case.
And guess what? I lived through all the generations.
Oh, you're doing it.
I'm going to live again. What's the problem, man?
You know I'll never die. I'll be here forever.
You know what?
The one thing I've mastered is eternity. That is the one thing that I've got down ground floor pat.
We're going down together. There's no way. Mike Joy says, I don't get all this sudden hatred for Biden. Maybe I have Trump derangement syndrome, which is not a real thing. But what has Biden done to deserve this? It's more that people are frustrated that he won't step down because they think they know better about who can win, who cannot win. And look, that's part of our political process. People have a right to want who they want. People have a right to be frustrated and upset. I'm sure there are Republicans who would love to toss out Trump, but they're stuck with him because no one else is polling higher than him. And so they got to go in that direction. But, it's just the way it goes in the political nature. So I don't think people are mad at Biden. I don't think people hate Biden. I think they're mad at him because they want him to step down and he stubbornly won't.
The only ones that I know that probably hate him are a large portion of Gen Z and Muslim Americans because of his handling in Gaza. So
Israel Americans hate him as well for they felt he didn't go far enough. Yeah, so
right. And so that I will give them credit all day. But like anybody else, it's the frustration again. The promise I'm going to be a one-term president because I just want to right the ship. The fact that we are watching him. Because we've watched Trump slip. I hate when people are like, why don't you call for Trump to step down? Because I'm not a Republican. I'm not voting for him. And I've said that he doesn't seem fit. And yet somehow they all drink the Kool-Aid and think he's fine. Yeah. I just don't think that either one are mentally fit to do this. Yeah. And yet we're being forced to be this as our two options. I also have a problem with people pushing third party right now. If you really want third party, then start that conversation as of November. When's the election? November 9th. So November 10th, 2024, start pushing that third party to actually have a platform and something set up. You keep waiting until January of 2024 to start touting somebody. That's too late.
Yeah. And Trump stopped calling Robert Kennedy Jr. and having conversations with him on camera. Don Ronaldo McWhiskey says, sending support. Thank you, Don. Love you, man. Great. Always love your face, brother, man. Love seeing your face. I mean, Haskell 420 says, one of the best vids the last 2 weeks was Laura Loomer being shut down at a hearing by one of the Dems breaking into auction calling. Well, it's funny you bring that up there, Ed. Let's take a look at it real quick. Here's the Laura Loomer.
What? That is why he's censoring and shadow banning. How about a damn 12 and a half, 15, $7 $20, $2 and a half, 5, 7 and a half, 30. Hit $30 down here, 2 and a half, 5, 35, 7 and a half, 40. Hit $40 and a half, 5.
See the dude in the front.
Down here,
Officer, will you escort this young lady out, please?
Yep, 2 and a half and a half, 5, 65, 7 and a half.
Just let it all the way out. They walked her all the way out of that hearing because he totally shut her down. The attention attention, spotlight seeking Laura Loomer. Yeah,
dude, I'm trying to remember who it was. There was a politician who said that one of the most frustrating things about being in Congress now, you have too many people that have now become congressmen and women that want to be influencers. They don't actually want to be lawmakers. They just want to get their sound bites off. It was Jasmine. It was Jasmine talking about Jasmine Crocker talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's like she doesn't want to make laws. She wants to go be a viral internet sensation, and she knows that she can do it through politics. So she keeps doing these things like, "Oh, your eyelashes are man."
Meanwhile, she makes weird noises during her speeches.
I know, but you saw Laura Loomer. She had her thing on a fucking track. She was out here trying to make sure.
Yeah. She's a joke. Anna Polina Luna, she's a joke as well. Samo says, "Hey y'all, I saw Twisters yesterday. What are y'all's thoughts? Have you seen it already? I have not. Winston, if you want to give a quick few seconds, have you seen it yet?
I haven't seen it either, and unfortunately, I've got a wedding this weekend, so I'm not going to be able to see it until probably while everybody else is at Deadpool. I'll be at Twisters because since we've got the press screening, that movie should be empty, so I'll go then.
Right on. Yeah. Doug Developer says it sucks that all this Dem nonsense stems from Biden's poor debate performance, but he went up against a man who spewed fast lie after lie without getting fact checked. Even Obama wouldn't be able to catch up. I feel the reaction is overblown. Well, I said this. Things happen in our society that is full. That our society now is ADD, ADHD. We forget things quickly. I knew a little more distance away from the debate, things would change. There's still 4 months to go. So, yeah, it was a bad night, and certainly he owned it, and it is affecting the polls right now, but it doesn't mean it'll permanently affect the polls. But I think it's not overblown. It was pretty bad in certain moments. I did a live watch along. It was rough. Winston, your thoughts on this?
Anybody that keeps saying it wasn't that bad, here's my only pushback to that immediately. My guy got asked a question.
You're still moving too fast.
We defeated Medicare. What, bitch? You defeated Medicare? I need people to stop gaslighting each other. Yeah. You can acknowledge, hey, this happened.
Yes.
But I definitely think we can recover. Instead of, I just had a bad night. Bitch, you had a meltdown.
Yeah.
And on top of that, don't tell me, oh, I didn't watch it. I don't need to watch it. Fuck you. I had a horrible night. Yes. I was very tired. I was sick, and I genuinely, I short-circuited, and I'm very sorry for that. I watched it. It is as bad as y'all say, but let me tell you why it's not. And then you go forward. Not, it's a bad night. I'm fine. If I lose, I tried my damnedest. Bitch, that's your ego. People need to put their ego aside and start using their logic and their empathy.
Lester, why don't you ask Trump about the 28 lies, Lester?
Two things can be true, Lester. I fell asleep at the wheel, but Trump also drove us into oncoming traffic. Like, you see what I'm saying? That's now all of a sudden it's like, if I'm going down, I'm taking you with me. We're going down. Let's get low, baby. If you hit me with a stunner, I'm catching you with a rock bottom. Like, come on.
Lester's like, I left Dateline for this. Anyway, all right, let's wrap up the show. Thank you so much for joining us here on Spill the Tequila, this special afternoon show. We are trying to lock down a time where we can do this weekly, so stay tuned at Winston and I's social media feeds to find out what day we're going to lock this down and time we're going to lock this down on, because we do enjoy talking these topics and we have a blast. And I think you all need to laugh and have some fun with us as we do it as well, because it's a crazy world out there. Winston A. Marshall, thanks so much, brother, man. Please let people know where they can find you and all the shows you're doing, all your content, your great TikTok videos, et cetera, et cetera. Let the people know.
Thank you. You can find me at the Swaggy Blurred on all the platforms. I've been building out my YouTube channel here. I'm on the drive to 5K, so please come through. But more specifically, I'm actually about 200 watch hours away from the first level of monetization. So if you got some free time today, man, go and check out. I did my Deadpool and Wolverine final trailer reaction. I've been doing the Fox Marvel rewatches, so check all those out. I'm going to try and get the Elektra one out before I go to this rehearsal dinner for this wedding I'm at. But if I don't get it out, it'll go out either tonight or tomorrow, as well as Fantastic Four. And we're going to keep it pushing. You're going to get a lot of those next week. They're going to be shorter than normal because we're getting closer and closer to Deadpool. And then finally, as far as next week with Deadpool, You're going to get my out of the theater reaction on Monday. You'll get my non-spoiler most likely on Tuesday or Wednesday. I'll be on Capes and Cows talking about non-spoiler with Christian and Coy. And then on Sunday, you'll get my spoiler. And then Monday, you'll get the Capes and Cows spoiler discussion as well. So come check all of that stuff out. I appreciate y'all.
Bang, bang. There you go. Go and follow him there. As for me, you're already on my channel. So if you haven't subscribed, hit that down below, that subscribe button and that bell button. So you see we're dropping all the content here. Leave all your comments down below. Let us know what you thought about all the topics as well. Hit a like on the video. Share it on your social media so more people are aware that this show is happening on the Outlaw Nation with Winston and I. And and then follow all the content we got going on. Geek Buddies tomorrow. Reaction videos coming up as well this weekend. And we dropped Jedi Way's review of the Acolyte episode 8 earlier today. So if you want to watch that to wrap up at night, you can do so as well. Thank you all so much. Thanks for the Streamlabs and Super Chats. Thanks for the lively chat. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here of Spill the Tequila.
Yeah. Money make the world go round. I'm trying to get it all right.